Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our June 2018 customer webinar. Taking cues from social media, the BLOX Now mobile app eschews conventional news app design in favor of a single, continuously scrolling stream of community news and events that keep users engaged. Today, Susan Bell, BLOX Now Senior Product Manager, and Christine Masters, Director of Product Management, will introduce the BLOX Now mobile app. I'm Cherry Wolf, Marketing Specialist at townnews.com. The presentation will take about 30 minutes and a Q&A will follow. At any point, you can type a question into the chat box, but we'll wait to answer them at the end. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available early next week. Before we get started, we have a few important reminders. Christine?
Thank you. Yeah, we spoke about this a little bit at our last webinar as well, but we just wanted to remind everyone of these issues just so that you were kind of on top of it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please feel free to Google it or look on our help site or submit a ticket and we can kind of help you get started with these issues. But to start off, we wanted to make sure everyone was again aware about a switch to HTTPS in the Chrome browser, and other browsers have similar timelines, where after July, they will start showing a big notice at the top of the website saying that this website is not secure. And kind of our initial feedback is that that can be somewhat shocking or might seem untrustworthy to some end users. So you might see some pushback from that why is your website insecure, et cetera, et cetera. We have the capability of doing that. We've had that for a while. There's basically a process that you can go through to make sure that your pages are referencing secure items like ads or like third-party scripts. And then you basically switch to a toggle that your website will start serving in secure mode. So if you haven't done that yet or you don't know what I'm talking about, then please go to our help site and do a search for secure mode, and it will give you instructions on how to do that. But that's something that, again, we don't want you to be surprised by the big error message that you might start getting in Chrome starting in July. The other thing we wanted to talk about is the Better Ads Standards. This is a series of best practices that an organization called the Better Ad Standards has put together, and Google Chrome is now following these Better Ad Standards as a requirement to serve Google AdX or other types of Google ads. And what happens is that if somebody is using the Chrome browser and they identify that your ads on your page, which includes Google ads or any other kind of ad, that if you're breaking the Better Ad Standards, you have too many ads on the page, you have the wrong format of ads on the page, Chrome will start filtering your ads and they will not show up on customers, on your end users' web pages. So this means that any of your end users who are viewing Chrome will no longer be served ads. So that has happened to several sites that we know of thus far, so this is a real thing. And again, we can kind of help you with some of this process. So if you are wondering more information about this, then please feel free to look at it on our website or give us a support ticket. And then lastly, if you're doing any kind of programmatic ads, you need to really be aware of what's called viewability. A majority of CPMs now on programmatic ads really rely upon you having viewable ads. The actual payment for ads that aren't viewed is much, much lower now than ads that are viewed on the screen, because they can now tell the difference and they pay you on the difference. So again, we have several different techniques and ways to ensure that the viewability rate of your website is higher, and then you get paid more for the programmatic ads. So if you're not aware of that initiative, we've got several blog articles and help articles on our website, so please look that up or submit a ticket and we can go over that with you. So that's just an FYI to some big things that are going on right now. So cool, thank you. So Susan, you want to go through the agenda really quick and then we can get started on the webinar?
Sure, thank you. So today's agenda, we're going to walk through several different things about the Now app to try to give you a complete overview of kind of the history into the app and what the app can do for you, increasing user engagement, feature highlights, the monetization offerings in the app, and how we kind of designed this, managing your app, website, and mobile site all in one easy workflow. So we are going to start kind of with a little bit of history and how we arrived at the Now app product that we are offering to you today. So this was actually a couple of years back. We started taking a look at kind of the mobile world, the mobile app business, apps that you physically had to download. They became kind of an industry entity. Everybody had one and wanted one, but they weren't performing very well. And then we were all introduced to mobile web, and so that really kind of brought a great debate of mobile web versus native mobile ads, and how these new responsive mobile sites were awesome. Everybody loved them, and the native mobile app adoption was still kind of hard for companies to kind of really drive adoption for those. So what we kind of discovered, and we wanted to run a couple of tests, is that the behavior really on mobile apps and mobile websites are completely different on how people use them on their phones. Both audiences are different and they can cross over, but what we really wanted to do is take a look at how users were interacting with mobile apps. And if we can go to the next slide. We wanted to take a look at kind of industry standard apps. We're going to call these kitchen sinks apps. And so we really have all tried really hard to put everything on our website into the apps. We didn't want to leave any information out. And so we kind of have, and this is pretty common still today across the industry, where we put as many things into the app as we can. We started with our testing was with 9 properties, and they all had kitchen sink apps. And what we did is we came up with a beta app, and we're going to call that a fire hose design. Fire hose has no significant place here other than that's just the name that we gave this beta app. So what we did is we took the most popular mobile apps in the industry, which is social media. So we took a look at Facebook, we took a look at Instagram and things of that nature to really kind of dive deep into how users were interacting with content on these apps. So we came up with kind of a social media design that was all kind of in an endless scroll. So people weren't having to click several times to get to content, but when they opened the app, they could have the same behavior that social media has kind of trained us all to do. So the significant part of this slide here that we're looking at is we took an item that was basically getting no exposure in a kitchen sink app. On the homepage, video was one of the things that was kind of really buried. And it could be any asset that is a couple of clicks away. We just took video as an example. And what we did is we put that in that fire hose stream. So it had a homepage view as soon as you launched the app. So our results from this was basically we went from no interactivity for that asset to crazy numbers because it went from 0 to something really high. So this kind of proves the theory that, you know, anything that we can kind of keep in this endless stream is going to perform better, whether that's an ad, an asset, video, audio, or article asset. So we took our learnings from kind of that beta app that we pulled data from for a few years, and we created what is the Now app now. And we kind of look at this as a better media app, taking that kind of streamlined solution to build a hybrid news and information app. And I do want to take just a second to say on the news and information, it is not all, you know, you can put all news and information into these apps, but it is top of mind news and information, and that's really what it highlights in these streams. The apps are developed for people to go back to several times a day because your home stream, the way it is designed, will always be new content because it's first in, first out, whether it's video, audio, article assets. There's constantly a refresh stream for users there. It's a great user and advertising experience, all within the one stream. And the cool thing about this app is that it is configurable and manageable through the CMS, which Christine is going to talk about the CMS and the management portal of this in a few minutes. It's maximum flexibility with minimal effort. So we really wanted the newsrooms, people who were having to get information, to be able to get breaking news and important news and weather information out to viewers as quickly as possible, to kind of fit into the design of this app, which is anytime a viewer opens it up, that we can ensure that we have updated information for them there. So these are just kind of some screenshots on what this looks like. We kind of break these down over the next couple of slides, but it does feature an Indio Scream, and we'll talk a little bit more about that pin content area. But you can see that we have in the red bar, that's a breaking news area. Below that, where it says latest news, we are able to pin content there across the top, so that remains at the top of the stream. And then we have our other assets that fall kind of in line there. This app also features in the middle screen a slide menu for navigation, for more customizable experiences, and I'll go through those in just a minute. And the other one is just kind of showing you what happens when you have an audio card or a video card. So the presentation is very similar. If you'll notice with that particular audio card, it doesn't necessarily have a graphic. The neat thing about this app is it is designed to pull in whatever information you have at the time as you're building your story, so that you're able to get information out to your consumers. So the design in this app, like our beta app was, is very similar to social media, with a endless scroll with that breaking news and the pinned content opportunity at the top. The streamlined approach creates more user engagement. And that user engagement, we proved kind of with that beta app. And so we do know that things that are exposed in this home feed, people will engage with more than what the presentation was on the kitchen sink app. So, and I've kind of repeated that, but our areas include breaking news, pinned content, carousel, and your asset feed. And the video and audio assets play in line with the feed. The next slide will actually just kind of show you what the video and audio playback look like. Your video card does pull a thumbnail in there, and so your video card looks a lot like your article card. It has an image in there for you, and then your video will play and stream. So same presentation as your articles. So the navigation for this app is a little different than normal navigation. So we created a topic section in here, and the topics customize that asset feed. So at first, all of your topics are all in the one feed when you launch the app. So your home feed is compiled of all of these things here: the entertainment, local news, obituaries, whatever topics that you want to create. If a user decides, I'm only interested in local news and I don't want to see the rest of these things, they can simply go and pick local news under the topic section, and it will customize, still in the Firehose stream fashion, only assets that pertain to local news for you. The rest of the slide menu navigation here is things that we're all familiar with your favorites button, your notification settings, topics, more, info pages, and submit feedback. The More section allows you to have third-party links, any kind of links that you want to other sections on your website, or other things that you just want to promote in your apps. You're able to put those into that More section. And now I'm going to toss it over. We've mentioned several times that the easy thing about this app is that it has one workflow, and with apps in the past, you have to log into several different places, maybe for your analytics, maybe to do a push notification, which is something that I think I skipped over a minute ago. This app is fully integrated with push notifications and DFP for your ad serving, and all that stuff is managed through the BLOX CMS. And I'm going to let Christine go through some of those things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is one thing that's very unique and interesting about how the app is set up is that we're actually using the BLOX CMS that you're all familiar with and love in order to create essentially the layout and the design or the ordering of assets within the Now app itself. And the way that we've done that is, and this is kind of an illustration of the front page of the Now app itself on an example site. We've taken some regions that you guys are familiar with in terms of laying out the main part of your website. We've taken the regions, and then each region within the Now app structure or builder here represents a part of the page that Susan talked about when looking at that Now app structure. So you have the breaking news at the top of the page here, and that's just essentially a block that you're placing within the breaking news section of the Now app builder. And you can use just the standard query rules that you're familiar with. They can be the same query rules that you use on your site, or you could have something slightly different or optimized for the app itself, and that can just be done by creating a block and placing it into that location. Same thing with the pinned content, with just like a top story slideshow across the top, and then the same thing with the asset feed that creates that fire hose feed that Susan was talking about. And again, these are just blocks, and you place the blocks on the page. You use the query rules. You could make them have different sections or an integration with sections, or show certain types of assets and have those all show up on the fire hose page of the app itself. So it's a familiar interface that you're already working with and you know how to use, and it's a nice way to set that up. This page, it looks kind of like how the app looks, but that's just a kind of a design on this page. The purpose of setting up each of these individual pages is that it creates a data feed from each of these pages that is then what feeds the app itself. So this is just kind of a structure so that you're familiar with what this looks like. This doesn't actually create a web page that is included in the app. It's just the structure that you're building those feeds. So it's kind of an innovative way, a user-friendly way to build the pages that then get built, that then get kind of sucked into the app for content. You can also see at the very top of the builder here that we've got a navigation area. The navigation area is what builds the more links menu that Susan was talking about in the flyout menu. So this is how essentially you can manage it yourself. You can create these links yourself, and then within a matter of moments, those links update automatically within the app, in the App Store, just because that's the data that is being pulled in for that app. So without having, you can add a new section, you can add a new, link to the shark special section or whatever. You can add those very easily by just changing the links within the app builder here, and then those would update automatically within the app itself. So it's a great way to be able to manage your application with the builder and the interface that you are all familiar with. So I think that that's a great way to set this up and to be able to manage the app itself. A couple other things in terms of, and Susan already mentioned a bunch of these things, but in terms of some additional features that are available within the native app itself, we do have DFP integration. We essentially allow you to declare how many ad spots you would like to have within that feed on the front page or on any of the topic pages. And you essentially say that I would like to have a DFP ad every 5 stories within the feed on any of my fire hose pages. And then it creates a DFP ad position on each of those locations. And then you can obviously manage and run your own DFP ads based on whatever ad unit you declare within the app itself. As for the story pages themselves, the story pages are actually just a light web view of the website. So all of the DFP ads that show up within your story, all of the cover art and article designer features that you're setting up within the story, those all will be shown automatically within the Now app because of the fact that you're just showing kind of a WebKit view of that, the mobile website of your actual website itself. So all of the work that you're doing, building and designing those pages throughout the day, all of that work can be visualized in the app itself. So it's a great kind of integration between web and the app itself. In addition, we also have integration with Google Analytics. There's also Firebase Analytics as well included within the app, so you can see your downloads and the usage of the app itself. And as Susan mentioned, we also have an integration with push notifications. These notifications can actually be created within blocks and just pushed out to the app from within your the Block CMS. So it's a real easy way to manage that within your existing workflow. You're not having to go out to another website or another area in order to handle push notifications or analytics or DFP, or even the ordering of the stories in the application. They're all done within blocks, and it's very easy to use, and it's a great new a way to get your content out to more people and more places around the world. I think that's it. For the last thing we wanted to talk about here really quickly was just the roadmap we have on the app going forward. We have a lot of stuff that we're definitely still working on, that we're looking forward to in the future. The first one is, we just based on customer feedback and based on our own testing and usage of the application itself, there are some things that we would like to be able to change more easily. There are some things that are kind of hard-coded into the app, and we'd like to make those customizable within the BLOX admin interface. So we are going to be working on exposing more items to a configuration panel. There's already a configuration panel within the BLOX admin where you can change some of the colors or some of the labels and obviously the navigation. We're going to expose more elements within the design setup application so that you can make changes or set up your app differently by just making a couple of quick tweaks within the BLOX admin. We are also working on a couple of different types of subscription options. Right now, the first version basically doesn't have a subscription option. We're, again, just showing the mobile web version of the web pages in the app. So if that's a requirement for you, it would be a good idea to probably wait till phase 2, which will be pretty soon here. But for the first phase, it doesn't have a subscription integration. But we are looking at ways to do kind of an App Store friendly web version of subscription, as well as looking at some of our app subscription options. If you're familiar with how all of the complexities with how subscription works within apps, you'll kind of understand that. But it's a complicated issue, but we're working on a couple of different ways to handle that. Additionally, right now in the first phase, there's essentially, for push notifications and breaking news notifications, there's one quote-unquote channel that users would subscribe to. In the future, we're going to have additional channel notifications. So if you wanted to have a sports channel versus a breaking news channel, you'll have the ability to have customizable channels for your push notifications. We're working on a special design for tablet that has some kind of tablet-specific features and a new interface that's kind of for the tablet audience. And we're also working on, we've got some great feedback from some of our initial launch partners on this, that there's some great ideas for new types of advertising models and new types of interactions that can be monetized within the app, and we are definitely very interested in those and ways that you can add new revenue opportunities within the app itself. I don't know if any of that stuff you wanted to follow up on before we have questions, Susan?
No, I think we're good, Christine. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, good, because we have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. First off, a couple people asked, we will actually record this webinar and post it, and it'll be sent via email to everyone who signed up today, and that will include a link to the slide deck. So those looking for the slide deck, we will send that out early next week. Is there a revenue model, or are we solely responsible for selling mobile ads? And then someone wanted to know, what's DFP?
Do you want to take that, Susan? Or do you want me to?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so to answer the DFP question, DFP is just a Google Click for Publishers. That's just an ad serving tool. It is the most common and the most universal way to serve ads on your website or on ads or OT, whatever we're talking about. So it's just a way to manage those ads and get analytics back on those ads, so you have some sort of an ad management system. The revenue model for this is, if the question is, do we have like an ad exchange for you or anything like that, is, we've created the portal and you're allowed to manage that within the BLOX CMS. But if you want programmatic or any of that stuff, the app supports that. But yes, you are responsible at this point for setting up kind of that revenue plan for your app.
And we do have, we have our ad ops programmatic program here at Town News. So if like Susan said, if you're interested in selling local ads into the feed, you can obviously place the local ads within the DFP units. And if you're interested in programmatics, we do have programs that are just, regular things that you put on your website also, but those programmatic ads can also work within the app itself as well.
All right. Let's see. There are quite a few questions about subscription, metering, and paywall. We did talk about that a little bit more, but people would like to know when that's expected and how that will work. How is it going to be handled?
Yeah, so I'll delve into that. I kind of tried to skip over it a little bit just because it's a complex area. But so the main thing is that whenever you offer a subscribe link within an app, whether it's even within the WebKit view of the app or whether it's in the app itself, that is the policy of the Apple is to do a 30% revenue share with Apple. And so right now, the plan is that we will have within the kind of the WebKit, and by WebKit view, you can think of it like an iframe where the app is just framing in a web view of your website. So it's the same thing as your website. We've kind of optimized that view and gotten rid of the top header and the bottom and the side rail, so it's just kind of the content view of the site. But that's essentially what gets viewed within the application. So the idea would be that we would have an opportunity for end users to log in with essentially their subscription account and get through the paywall. But in order to actually subscribe, they would go to your website to subscribe. So that's kind of the first phase, which we are hoping to have within the next month or so here. And there probably will be, we're looking at additional types of subscription as well. A possibility of having a subscription that is within the app that, again, you would do a revenue share with Apple on. But there might be, that is a different kind of paradigm for users who might not be print subscribers or digital subscribers of the website, but who just want to, read things within the app itself. And we're looking at ways to have an app version of that subscription as well. And probably what it will end up being is that there might be a dual interface there where they can log in with their app account, or they can log in with their website digital/print membership account. So, but the print membership digital account stuff that's going to be all within the website will probably be within the next several weeks here. We're just trying to make sure that that is a user-friendly experience, because it's kind of hard to do that well. So that's what we're looking at right now. And but yeah, I think that'll be a good kind of a dual mode there that we're looking at. And so, and repeat that we'll have the web version that's login for your digital subscribers within the next several weeks. I don't know an ETA on the app side of the subscription, because that's a little bit more complicated, but that's probably some months away.
So the phase 2 update is more of like continual things we're working on and not a complete rebuild of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're, obviously we're working with an app development company to do incremental changes over time. So we are always going to be doing upgrades and changes within the app itself. So I don't know if Susan, you want to jump in there?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think you answered that question fine. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to roll out versions just like any other application. So, we try to have several different or a combination of feature items. So it's worth us having to kind of re-release this through your store after you kind of get the app live, so that we're not having to re-release versions all the time. So we're trying to make each version worth its while, so they will always contain several feature updates.
Great. How are e-editions handled?
That's a good question. In the first version, essentially what we were talking about, creating a more link at the bottom of the page, you would essentially create a link to your e-editions, and it would open the Safari window and they'd be able to view the mobile version of the e-edition. So it would essentially be a link off to the e-edition web-friendly version of that site. And luckily we just several months ago have rebuilt pretty much from scratch the e-edition interface to be very mobile friendly. So it will work really well in that regard. That being said, that doesn't preclude us doing more interesting things with that in the future as well. But the current plan is that you're essentially just linking to your e-edition through that menu bar.
Can you elaborate on pinned content? Is that the only way to rank content, or can it apply to all sections?
Let me just back up a little bit here to show that one. Yeah, so let me just, and I'll do this really quick, Susan, and then if you want to jump in, feel free. But essentially, and Susan kind of walked through this, but you have this little bar at the top for breaking news. So this is essentially in blocks. This is a block that you can define what your breaking news queries are for breaking news. So if you want it to be, the flag breaking news and the news section, then those are the query rules that would pull in those articles that would then generate the feed that feeds that area in the block itself. The pinned content area is essentially this top stories slideshow here, and you can swipe left to right with your finger on the phone just to see more articles there, and then this is the feed.
So how do they rank content?
Yeah, so essentially you do that the same way that you do within your website. You're either doing it with priority, you're doing it with flags, you're doing it with recency. It's the same thing.
Okay. Susan, did you have anything to add to that?
No, the only thing, Christine, did you mention that we do have a rule of 3 pinned assets right now for the current app?
Sure, yeah, go ahead and mention that.
So in this first version of the app, there is a rule that you do have to have 3 items to pin across the top in order for the pin content section to be exposed above your asset feed. In the future, kind of on those other roadmap items, we will create other rules for 1 and 2 pinned assets, so it has a responsive flow in there. But to begin with, there is a rule of 3.
Yeah, and again, it's up to you how you want to kind of manage those blocks. So you can have them, mimic the same rules that you use to build your front page of your website. So if you have a breaking news block on your website, then that could be used to populate the breaking news kind of feed there at the top of the page. Or if you wanted to do something different for the app, you could do that also. So it's kind of up to you how you want to build those pages.
Okay. Is the video required to be a town news video asset, a YouTube asset, other, or any?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's working with the town news video, but we will have more support for different asset types in the future.
Will new section tags need to be made to tag assets in the Now
Um, oh, so new sections, is that what that said?
Yeah.
Yeah, you will create a new URL to place the blocks that you will then, kind of manage those blocks. But most likely the sections that you will use for the news will be the same sections that you use on the website. Theoretically, if you wanted to do, this isn't really common, but if you wanted to have, special news for the app, you could create a new section that would then populate either some or all of the app. But most likely you're going to be reusing the same sections that you currently use.
Okay. Are the ad sizes within the feed 320 by 50? Are they?
Yes.
Yes. We have a current app with a few thousand users. Would those users be required to update their app or download a brand new app if we switch?
Yeah, Susan, do you want to talk about that?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
We have an app with a few thousand users. Do the users update their app if we switch, or do they have to download a brand new one?
Thank you, Terry. So we can handle that any way that you want to. So definitely maintaining your audience is always important because an audience is super tough to get, especially in the app world. So we absolutely can go into your store and update on top of your existing app. So it just replace what you have right now, and it will just appear as an update to your current audience. If you wanted to keep that app and have a separate one, which I really don't know what a great use case that would be, then we could create a separate app for you too. So it is a decision on your end, and we can handle both situations.
Great. Did beta testing include a live site, and is there a live site people can go to look at?
Yeah, do you want to, Susan, do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so we have some live, I'll answer this two ways. We have live apps now that you can download. With News is one of those, so you can download that app and you can look at the functionality of there. That was our beta app. Also, too, when we create your individual build, we will have a beta version for you. So before the app is live in the store, you will be able to have a working version of your app that you're able to review and approve. That will be on your mobile device before we actually pass it through the store.
Okay. Can the wording on the notifications be customized, or does it just take the headline?
It can be customized.
Yay! All right, here's the big question. How much does it cost?
So, as we always say in the webinars, please talk to your sales representative as soon as you can.
And they'll give you all the details on setup charges, monthly costs, all of that stuff. What can we do to get BLOX Now, and what steps do we take?
Yeah, so we're essentially launching the first version of this now, and so if you're interested in finding out more, contact your sales rep, or submit a ticket, and we can get you in touch with your sales rep, and obviously talk through your unique situation, and if you have an existing app now, or you don't have an app, or any other questions that you might have about your particular setup, and then what kind of costs and time frames are involved, and they'll go over all of that with you.
Is this available on Apple and Android?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, it has an Android version and an iOS version. We should have said that.
And one thing I wanted to piggyback on that particular question is right now the current version of the app, where it is viewable on an iPad, it does not have an iPad view or Android tablet view yet. That will be in phase 2.
Yeah, there was a question about what does it look like on a tablet? Is it just a bigger version of the phone?
Right now it's a bigger version of the phone. Phase 2 will be an iPad view and an Android tablet view, customized for that interface.
When you say Town News Video, are you meaning the new Field 59 or the current video player, or both? The BLOX video asset, where you can include
different types of like MP4 videos, remote videos in that asset, and that those will play within the feed of the app as well.
Is it integrated with both WSI and Barron for weather? What's the weather integration?
So the weather that is currently being used is the same that we have on the website. It's using essentially the WSI data. And what happens is, again, it comes from the website as part of the configuration file that we send to the app. So the weather is included there as part of the configuration. And when you click on it, it goes to essentially the weather page that you have set up on your website. So however you set that up with, if you have, your videos or just the weather, the hourly weather, etc., those will show just a mobile version of your weather page from your website.
How much setup is involved on our end to get it to the App Store?
So you want to talk about that, Susan?
Sure. So the onboarding process for this, we do have, there are app assets that we take to build the app, such as splash screens and, logos and branding and different icons and things of that nature that we have to build the app, or that you'll have to have created to do a store submission, or for us to do the store submission for you. So we go back and forth. Usually it's not a process that takes that long. We work with your designer or whoever is in charge of your branding assets to get that complete. So you can, do that in a couple of days, or, a couple of weeks, just depending on how long it takes you to gather those. So there's kind of two separate onboarding elements there, one for the actual app build, and then one for a set of instructions for the actual app submission process. But it's not too much, and it doesn't take that long.
How long is the turnaround?
That is another good question. So depending on how quickly, really the longest part of it is the asset collection process. Once we have that, we are saying a 10-day turnaround time right now, and that just allows us a couple of days to prepare for unforeseen events. But the turnaround time is actually pretty quick on these.
So there'll be a process to, obviously, once the contract is signed, there's a process to gather the materials, to get the logos, etc. Then there'll be a process to set up the blocks, and however the site would like to customize the blocks. So again, there should be some thought put into, do you want it to mimic the behavior on your website or do something different? And obviously if you want the breaking news to be based off of pound breaking keyword, that's different than if you had a flag breaking, for example. So you would either want them to be the same, or you'd want them to be deliberately different. Most likely you'll want them to be the same, so that when you post breaking news, it goes live to all of the places where you show breaking news. And then, as Susan mentioned, there's a time that it takes to get the app itself built and then placed into the store, and then there's time to get it approved in the store. I mean, I would think that, so Susan, would you say that in terms of like signing the contract to live, it would probably be a couple of months turnaround time?
From signing the contract into a live app can take anywhere from 30 to 60 days, depending on how quickly you're working, right? So if we get the ball rolling there, then we can move things quickly along on our end. But, allowing for time, because also too, after the app is built, you'll want to allow some time for testing. So it may not take that much time to get a test app back to you, but then you're going to want to kind of go through that and make adjustments so that when we push that through the store submissions, once they're in the store, they typically only take 24 to 48 hours to go live, so that's really not a long part of the process, but anywhere from 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, that's good to mention that we do have an internal QA process as part of these, so we have like a million little phones all over the place that people look at on their when testing this.
Speaking of the App Store, Does this go into the App Store under our company-controlled developer IDs?
Yes, and that is a great question. So we work with you on getting all of your certificates and app signing IDs, and we release this through your company store. So we are here to help you with that process. However much help that you need from that, we can walk you through. You can do your own submission, or we can do that for you. But it is all done through your account. It is not done through Town News' company account.
And if you don't have an account, then you can set one up, and we can help you with that.
Is there a search function?
That's a good question. Right now, there is no search within the app itself, but obviously, that's something that we could look at in the future, depending on how that would work. Most likely, what people will do is set up the main sections of each of their, the main content sections of the site itself, and then you're just kind of looking at the updated news for the day. I would say too, to think about this as, especially for the first version, like Susan said, we're really looking at the data for what we've seen end users actually do with these types of applications. That the thought process that has been successful thus far is not to necessarily recreate your application within the app, or I'm sorry, not recreate your website within the application, but rather just give them, push notifications and updated news. And that's the 90% of what people are trying to do with these applications. That being said, we are looking at some of those types of functionality in the future. It's just not available in the first version here.
How do photo galleries work?
That's a good question. We do have the ability for basically a collection to show up here. Obviously, if the collection is pulled inline in the story itself, you're going to get an inline photo gallery view within the application, because again, we're showing essentially from the top of the content area on the article page to the bottom of the article page area, not the top sidebar or bottom of the mobile web, but we're showing that content area within a frame within the app. So anything that you do inside of that story area will be part of the app when they're viewing the story within the app. So if you have a photo gallery either at the top of the article or you have a photo gallery that's in line in an article, those will actually work as part of the article itself. If you post a collection itself in the stream of content, when they click on that, they'll also see that essentially that paging gallery view in the application, in the app itself also.
So right now we get a page view for every photo view with ads refreshing. That'll stay the same?
That is a good question. I believe it does, yes. I should check on that just to make super sure, but I believe it does.
Susan, this might be a question for you. How does it work with app updates you release if we control releases to the App Store on our existing developer account?
So how that works is we ask for permission into your account as a developer so that we are able to, for Apple, for example, we're able to upload your new versions of the app. And we can either release those for you or you're able to release those. But just like in Google Play and in iTunes, you're able to invite people to your accounts with particular roles. And so with those developer role accesses, we're able to keep your versions up to date.
Great. Do push alerts include special features such as the inclusion of an image or the ability to highlight bold text?
Right now we do have an image, but not the other. I don't know about if bold would work or not, but they do have an image that's included in that as well, yes.
Can you pull in calendar events?
That's a good question. So the first version doesn't directly support calendar events. The main reason is just obviously because this is a block-based feed, you can't mix calendar events within the feed of the block itself here. However, From a technical perspective, we definitely can do that, and we'll do that on a future version. Most likely what will happen is that you'll have a block with news, and then you'll have a block with calendar events, and then a block with news, and then a block of calendar. You can kind of mix them in that way, and then that will be kind of how we format that. So the app itself will be able to do that. It's just a matter of kind of making sure all the pieces fit together. So that's definitely going to be part of this.
Can the design of the homepage of the app be customized?
So I'll try jumping on that, Susan, and then you can follow up if you have additional pieces. But so essentially the customization, again, it's kind of essentially what you can create within the BLOX interface. So these items are essentially blocks that are kind of placed within the interface, and then those are used to populate the app. But if you don't have those blocks placed there, you won't have that element on the app itself. So if you don't create a breaking news area, or if you don't have any breaking news right now, this top area goes away. If you don't want to have the top news pinned content area, the slideshow, you don't have to have the slideshow. But depending on if you have news there or not, it will populate. And then you'll have the feed area. So if you want to, remove any of those three items, you could. Obviously, you want to have the feed there, though, so I don't know about that one. But yeah, so if you don't want to have maybe the slideshow part, you could remove that. Also, you can change colors so that obviously there's the background color that can be changed, the logo can be changed, the color of the breaking news can be changed, the color of the labels here can be changed. So those types of things can be mixed and matched. But as for the feed part of it, right now that's kind of what that looks like, and we're looking at adding more kind of tweaks to that in the future.
Great. Thank you everyone for the great questions. Now's a great chance to type any last questions in the chat box, and if we want to look at how we can stay connected. Who do we contact? We contact our sales reps.
Sales reps.
And if you're not sure who that is, you can go to our website, townnews.com, and you can actually put in your area and find out more about who you can reach. Yes, this video will be available for viewing later. We are recording it, and we will have it available and send out an email when that is ready. Oh, okay, I think that's the questions we have. So you can stay connected with us in many ways. You can find our documentation at help.bloxcms.com. You can get support by calling 800-293-9576 or going to support.townnews.com, where you can enter a ticket or find other ways to contact us. The partner community is a great resource for talking to others who use Town News, and it's community.townnews.com. Get a lot of great conversations there. We'd love to hear your feedback on the app there as well. And if you want to know the status of our servers, you can go to townnews.status.io. We include end-of-life messages there and important service updates. You can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, where you can find other webinars as well. We have a number of special newsletters you can sign up for by going to our news page on our website. And you can decide which ones you're interested in. Also, coming up later this month, we have a Google News Initiative Fundamentals Training webinar on June 21st at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. We will be having Nick, is it Nick from Google News?
Yep.
We'll be going through the tools they have and special training for journalists and BLOX CMS.
Yeah, if I could just say one quick thing about that, that's if you haven't seen the announcements about that, then please look into that, because that will be a really interesting webinar. They have very graciously through funds provided by the Google News Initiative have allowed this essentially a Google trainer from the Google News Lab team to be available to us. I would very much recommend for that particular webinar that, if possible, you actually have your staff participate. this is great for actual newsroom people, your editors, even reporters. It talks about kind of online safety and building interactive maps and using kind of databases, and it's kind of the fundamentals of using all the different Google tools for journalism. So it's a great opportunity that through our relationship with Google that we're able to make available to you guys. So I think that that's going to be a great opportunity. And if I recall, I think that the presentation itself is an hour, and then he's actually giving us like half an hour for questions.
Yes.
So I think that's also going to be a really great opportunity to kind of ask anything that you have about using those tools. Obviously, he's not going to really be able to answer why your grandmother was banned from Gmail or whatever. But that being said, it's a great opportunity to kind of interface with somebody from Google who knows a lot about all those different strategies and different tools and things. So I would highly recommend that, like I said, seeing if you can get your newsroom on the line at that time, and it will of course be recorded so that they could watch it afterwards as well. But it's going to be a great webinar, and we're very thankful to Google News Lab and the Google News Initiative for making this possible.
Yeah. So again, if you have any interest or questions about the new app, BLOX Now app, contact your sales rep and we will get you all the details you need. Thank you so much everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time.